All things gaming, all things streaming, with a healthy dose of beer, sports and travel. This can only be one thing. It's time for the Chef Schanne podcast with your host, Matthew Schanne.
All right, guys, we are here with Christina Flack. She has a very successful story, and I will give her let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Christina Flack. I'm the founder and CEO of Pretty Girl Makeup. I'm also a mother of 5, and I'm a sepsis advocate. I'm a sepsis awareness advocate, and I'm also a celebrity makeup artist.
Ooh, yeah. Just let the listeners know, I'm not too familiar with sepsis.
So sepsis is an infection of the blood, which attacks the organs and shuts them all down. So sepsis usually starts with an infection. It could be a finger cut. It could be like bronchitis or pneumonia. My husband, I was married to Ken Flach. He was the #1 tennis player, doubles player in the world with his partner, Rob Seguso, in the 80s and 90s. They won a gold medal in Seoul and Wimbledon, and they were on the Davis Cup for 9 years. Ken got a cold, which turned into bronchitis, and then pneumonia, and then later into sepsis. We were with Kaiser Permanente at the time. They are an insurance company and medical system out here in California. Their system is that you call into an advice nurse, and then they determine whether they're going to see you or have the doctor prescribe whatever medicine over the phone. Unfortunately, for my husband, he wasn't seen. And so by his doctor, John Culbertson, they thought that he, I don't know why, but he was clearly sick enough. He said he'd never been sicker in his life. He had, it felt like he had glass in his chest. He was spitting up, really yellow and green mucus out of his nose and his throat. He was really sick. He had fever. So they prescribed cough medicine with codeine and an inhaler. So what happens when you get cough medicine with codeine and an inhaler and not an antibiotic to counter it, your body slows down, the breathing slows down so much, so the infection just grows at an insanely rapid rate. So when I got Ken to the emergency 12 hours later, he was spitting up blood. He did have sepsis, and they didn't give him an antibiotic even then for 3.5 hours. So by the time they did give him an antibiotic, there was no turning back with sepsis. It's just not a forgiving, ugly disease, and it took over all his organs. They shut down. His arms and legs turned black. And at that point, so that was on a Thursday that I took him to the emergency. So by Monday, 2 hours after we got to the emergency, he was on life support. And 3 days later, they determined that, we were going to have to amputate his arms and legs if he survived. And, my husband loved to play golf, and it was terrible. It really was. It was awful for my children, his children, myself. It was just, and there was no way for him to die that way, such a gruesome death. I would really love to see change in the medical system, especially in a company like Kaiser that rewards its doctors for not seeing patients. I think everyone deserves to be seen, and there's going to be a lot of loss of life if people aren't seen.
Yeah, wow, damn, that's.
So after Ken passed away, I was contacted by the Sepsis Alliance to, bring, awareness about sepsis, because so many people don't know about it, but 250,000 people die a year from sepsis. And so it's definitely worth having conversation about, and I don't want to see anyone else lose their person. So I have been doing that for the past 2 years since Ken passed away.
Yeah, that's, wow. That is that sounds really just a nasty disease. Like did he have was it that like so quick that he like never had like any like what's it called, like, like, was he losing a lot of weight during that process, or
I mean, it was such a short period of time that,
it was, yeah.
it was a few days that by the time he went into the hospital and he passed away. So he went in on a Thursday into the emergency, and by Monday he was taken off life support and died. So it was very, very quick. So
Yeah,
after that, I started doing, my son, Bo, had passed away 10 years ago from SIDS on Christmas Day. And so I started a foundation for him at the Northern Lights School in Oakland. And Ken has always been really amazing with the school. It's a private school for minority children that runs solely on grants and donations. So Ken had always been amazing with supporting the school. And there's a Vida Blue, was a baseball player for the A's a long time ago. He puts on a celebrity golf tournament every year. And so Ken played in it. And my son, Ben, Bo's twin, this past October raised $35,500 for the foundation for Ken and for his twin. And so, and that's really remarkable, obviously, for someone that's so young, but it also changed 3 students' lives. They are able to go to private school for an entire year. So when you're able to, have 3 students go to school to a private school for an entire year, that's changing, the family and community, and it's changing the world. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I've done golf tournaments. I've done them, and I don't think we ever. I think I spent more money. I wish I would have done something like to give back, because when I was younger and stuff like that. But man, that's incredible. I could never put my head around understanding any of, just putting all that. That's crazy to me. Sorry. But so was it?
My choice. I also, speak a lot about grief, obviously, because I've been dealt quite a bit in my life. My mother passed away when I was 20. My son passed away when I was 40, and when I was 50, my husband passed away. So I've dealt with grief quite a bit. It's definitely, everyone deals with grief differently, and no one's grief is more important than anyone else's. I believe that once people pass on, that they're up in heaven and they're angels watching over us. And so I feel that it's really important for them to be looking down on us. And I think it would be really hard to be up there looking down on your family and loved ones if they are so just not living their life the way they normally do, and not being productive and trying to be happy. I mean, I definitely have moments and days that I'm depressed and sad, and I have to just kind of like kick myself in the butt and go, okay, you have a lot to be grateful for. Put on some music, go for a run, meditate, go do something. And then I always know that it's a moment that's passing, and I will feel better in a little bit. I just think it's so, we're given one life, and I think we have to live it to the fullest. And setting a good example for my children is incredibly important to me, because I want them to have a happy life. Excuse me. And if they don't see me being happy and productive, well, then they're not going to be either, because children are like sponges. They emulate what they see. So I try very hard to be my highest self, raising awareness and working hard and trying to be a happy person.
Yeah, definitely. I can definitely agree with that. There's no one more, I guess, more of a, leader in the household, especially if you're a single parent. You're definitely taking on the roles of both mom and dad, and that's incredibly difficult. But it definitely, with that outlook, you can really get and make those hurdles and be able to put your best effort, and definitely being as successful as you are. I mean, that's an incredible story to be doing that and be a CEO at the same time. I couldn't fathom doing any of that.
Well,
You
you would
know.
be surprised what you can do when you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I was a CEO and a makeup artist before all this happened. So these are just, this is what God has put in my path, and I choose to handle it, try as gracefully and as, with as much dignity as I can. It makes life a lot, happier if you feel that you've put your best foot forward every day and, done something. I miss Ken every minute of every day. Life is not the same without him. My children miss him. His children miss him. I mean, it's just, he was an extraordinary human being. He was funny and smart and kind, and he had a wicked sense of humor. He was a total handful. And I miss him so much, and I will miss him till the day I die. But I feel that it's important to help others, and it helps me with my grieving process. So.
Yeah, definitely. Um, um, but so what what makeup do you normally do? Like what? I have no clue about this industry.
So I have an agent. I'm with Artist Services in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and New York. My agent is Brandy Moore. So I do all kinds of things. I was down in Los Angeles before the shut-in with coronavirus, working on a TV show for Fox with Isaiah Washington called Kitchen Talk. And I was down there for 2 weeks. We did a season, so that was fun. I do fashion, I do weddings, I do print, catalog work. I work with all kinds of different celebrities and athletes and musicians and celebrity chefs, and it's a really fun job. I get to spend time. It's kind of like what you do. I get to talk to people and have alone time with them. I work with Condoleezza Rice and Metallica and Journey and Dana Perino and Tucker Carlson. I've had amazing people in my chair that I've gotten to spend time with that I would not normally have the opportunity to. So it's really special when I'm hired to do these jobs and I get one-on-one time with these really special people.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing. I mean, I couldn't. Oh, wow. I don't know if I could really. Because I just watched a podcast. This is just a funny story. Of one of my celebrity comedians, and he's interviewing like Larry the Cable Guy, and he just, as soon as he pops up on the Zoom screen, he just loses his stuff, and just like is like ask just shotgunning questions at this guy, and it's like all nervous, and you can just tell, and um you're like I'm like, yeah, if I ever got like him or Larry the Cable Guy in like a seat next to me, or across the or in the below monitor of the Zoom conversation, I would be the same way. I would just be like, I would be shotgunning question after question after question, because like I I don't know, that would just make me so nervous.
I don't know. I mean, I think everyone, for a minute, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I get someone like Condoleezza or Isaiah in my chair, and, for a minute, but they're just normal, lovely people, and they're fun and they're nice, and they all have, everyone that I get in my chair, even if, a bride or a model or actress, everyone has something interesting to tell you or share with you. And sometimes they want to not talk. Sometimes you have to just kind of be silent and let them talk, or there's no talking. So I've had that experience as well. You just have to kind of feel out with each person rather quickly as to what tactic you're going to, move forward with. So that is part of my job as well. And I have to, part of being a makeup artist, obviously you need to have, good makeup skill, but you also have to, feel the person out, and you have to make them feel good. If they, it's really important when you get in front of the camera if you're feeling good on the inside, you're going to look even better on the outside. So it's really important that, if someone has a headache, I'll use aromatherapy, I'll get some lavender oil, or I'll get them some tea, I'll massage their hand, I'll put some ice under their eyes if it's swollen. Every circumstance is different, and you just kind of have to go, okay, what am I going to do to make this person look their best and feel their best at the same time? And hopefully they all coincide and everything's fine.
True. Yeah, because a lot of those people probably like travel and stuff, so they'll probably be like jet lagged and stuff like that.
Sometimes they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
then
how do you feel?
Who knows, sometimes I have to just I don't know what was going on in their life before they got into my chair. Something catastrophic could happen, something I don't know. So I always have to be pretty sensitive and intuitive to feel what it is that they're feeling and respect it. And, it's very important for them to feel that they have their space, but also that they're being cared for.
Yeah, kind of like run like what was it like my barber. My barber does the same thing. He's like he'll know before I even hit the chair if I have a bad day at work or not.
Right.
It's kind of like,
feel, everyone is intuitive. You just have to kind of be open to it, but you just have to really just open your eyes and ears and feel it. I did an interview yesterday with a woman, and she was talking, she was asking me about, grief. And it turned, I could just see even over Zoom that she was having a hard time. And I could tell she was like, I thought she was about to cry. And I said, are you okay? And then she had told me, I had lost her brother not too long ago. And it was really hard for her to interview me. So I had to kind of, even though it wasn't my interview, I had to kind of shift it a bit to make it a little bit more uplifting and make her feel comfortable, because, I need to make the person that's interviewing me or that I'm making up feel comfortable so that they can, do an interview that's, good for all of us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And definitely it's nice to have, I've had, I think my last 3 interviews have been with people, like with podcasters that are just beginning, and then they'll come to me and they'll be like, all right, so I listened to our episode, I jot down some stuff for you to look over. And I was like, okay. And I look over half of their stuff and I'm like, done, and done. And the guy's like, sorry about that, I was really high last night. So forget about that. I was like, dude. Like I actually, I take it seriously. Like I actually, like, I just started this like 6 months ago. Like I will, if you send me something, hey, this is what you did wrong, I will legitimately look at it, because that's like our job. I feel like that's part of our job to improve ourselves, not just over time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I listen to my interviews, and I am very critical, and I want to make sure that I'm not so much critical of the person that's interviewing me. It's more of how I responded or how I can speak better, and just a little more eloquently, and then not say a lot and well, and I catch myself doing and saying I caught myself right there.
Yeah.
You try to do your best every time. It's part of the process. And, every interview you get better at, you get better with the lighting, you get better with every time it gets a little easier and better. And then sometimes, I find that you have better chemistry with certain interviewers, or it just happens to be that we're both in an amazing mood and it just flows really well and the conversation's going. And other times it's a little harder and bumpy and it's awkward, and it just depends on the day and how it's going.
Yeah, I know just the thing, because the last one I had a fitness lady on, and she really, like, once we got going, like, it was hard for her to think both of us were trying to feel each other out at the same time. And then it was really, really difficult for me to like, am I trying to ask questions? It was bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. And then she started coming back with a question and stuff. And I was like, all right, now we're getting into it. Now we're flowing.
Flow. Yeah, we're in a good. Yes.
Yeah, like that makes my job so much easier because then it sounds really, really good. It sounds really professional.
Mm-hmm.
And and it turned out to be like an amazing hour-long one too, because like at the beginning I was actually counting minutes. I was like, that's not flowing right, not flowing right, not flowing. Then once we started flowing, we flew for like 45 minutes.
Oh, that's
amazing. I'm like, couldn't the first like 15 been like that?
Sometimes it's just, our energies are off sometimes.
Yeah, it's true.
And we're all trying our best.
Oh yeah. And she had a lot to say, and she was amazing person to talk to. She lives on the West Coast too, so it threw me off with the timing and stuff like that.
Right. You're in New York?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay.
Yeah, South Jersey. Yeah, we're hanging in there.
I know. It's a really hard time for everybody right now. We are all trying to be our highest self and be patient and not be scared. And it's hard sometimes. Definitely. I have a daughter that lives in London. So that's, challenging. She's, far away and she's alone. She's a fashion designer. She's finishing up her degree. And my other daughter, Rose, graduated from NYU and she's a screenwriter. She is living in LA and she was working on the reboot of Mad About You.
Oh, nice.
And then my son, Nikolai, is a golfer in college and Ben is in 7th grade. And he's doing a lot. He's at home, right now, homeschooling for obvious reasons during the shut-in. So, but I'm very blessed that we're able to, I live in California and I can walk out my door and go for a walk and, be on a golf course and walk and my dogs can run free. And it feels so nice to feel normal for a little while and not feel like we have all this craziness going on that we could never have fathomed in a million years that the government would say we can't work. I just never thought this was possible.
Yeah, I know. I'm thanking God, like, because my other job, my full-time job is I'm a chef over at a senior care facility. So
wow.
So like I'm still working a full-time job.
Well, you're lucky. I'm happy for you. That's a blessing.
Oh yeah, we don't always think of it as a blessing, but it's like I always told people before this even happened. I was like, it's because this one guy I work with, he's like, I'm gonna leave here. I'm gonna go to a different restaurant. I was like, bro, don't do it. Like, just relax. Like, do both jobs. Because he was doing mornings at our place, and then he would go to the restaurant at night, which is perfect. That's what you should be doing when you're a young chef and trying to make it in the restaurant business. Like, that's basically what you do in reality.
It's a hard job. I work with the Food Network a lot, and I work with a lot of chefs, and it's very, even at that level, it's hard, intense work.
Yeah, it's a high burnout rate in the restaurant field, and when he I just worked with him today. He hit me on the shoulder. He was like, how'd you know all this was going to go down? I was like, I didn't. I was just telling you our personal experience because I've been there. I've worked in casinos. I've worked in bars. I worked in cafes. I worked basically every like little restaurant you can possibly imagine. And I'm like, there's nothing more that gives me more pleasure than, cooking a nice meal for some of the hardest critics, which is our elderly.
I bet. And they're definitely opinionated, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's we all joke around that resident council meeting is like Vietnam, because we just get up there and we're like Charlie is everywhere, and they're just screaming at us like we're like. Like, it's supposed to go in order. Like, one person's supposed to go say their complaint, and the next person. One person says that complaint, and then everyone else is like, yeah, that too. Yeah, scrambled eggs here suck. I'm like, how can I make it better?
Yeah.
No response.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, got a little sidetracked there.
It's all good.
So let's see. So do you like do any thing on the fashion end of your, like, when you do like people's makeup? Do you like do the fashion part of it too? Like,
The styling.
like the styling and like the
Well,
outfits.
like when on the TV show, I make sure that their clothes are, don't have any stuff on it. I have a little roller brush, make sure their clothes are straight, that their microphones are not, messing up. And so that is part of the job as well. But usually, it depends. On some shoots, there's a stylist, and then that's their part. And then I just deal with their hair and their makeup for the men and the women. So I do both men and women. So it's fun, especially this was my first experience on a TV show. I had not done, I've done episodes, but I'd never done a series. So that was fun. And you really get close with everyone on the crew. I mean, it was amazing the amount of people that were working on the show. There's, lighting guys, sound guys, there's a bunch of people, getting the food ready for the guest and for Isaiah to cook, prepare. There's just, you'd be shocked how much time and effort goes into a TV show,
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And we would spend one entire day on one episode that's going to be, 30 minutes, and it's like a 12-hour day. So it's pretty amazing.
Dang. Yeah. Damn. Oh, wow. So how long were you there, like, making the series? So what, you were there for?
I was in there, we shot 9 days. And so we did, I think I did 5 days in a row, and then we had a break, and then I went back down for 4 more days. So I went down to Los Angeles. I drove down the first time, and then the second time, it's such a long drive from San Francisco where I live that I just flew down and rented a car. It was just so much easier and not so exhausting. To drive after a long day of shooting, to drive another 6-7 hours is just, you're exhausted at an unbelievable level.
Yeah. I know how it's like
it's a lot.
Yeah, I went on a road trip this last summer, and that I found out how long 7 hours actually is in a car.
That's exactly it. How long 7 hours is. It is long, like long for long. Yeah.
Yeah, you get that the Charlie horse in your leg if you don't
your back
stretch.
hurts, you're sore, you're hungry.
Oh yeah, like it's insane. And how I never really knew until you told me that. I really never knew how far San Fran is from LA, because it seems like
very far.
They would be closer, but I was like,
yeah, no, they're not as close as one would think. They're very far.
So you ever like been on do stuff for like movies and stuff like that?
I've done a little bit with movies. I do a lot of commercials. I do mostly, I do a lot of catalog work for different fashion shows and different fashion lines. So that's a lot of fun. And that's intense work too. You're working, people think, oh, you're a makeup artist. It's so glamorous and fun. And yes, it is, but it's not. You're on your feet all day long, and it's intense, and you're on a deadline, and you need to make things perfect, and it's intense work. It's fun, but it's intense.
Oh yeah, I bet. Like I know from my my experience of with cooking. I'm on my feet, 8 to 12 hours maybe. On a lucky day, I might be able to sneak in on my day off and do 4, but that's already my day off. But still, like, after those long hours, you're about ready to keel over. You're like, all right, just give me my
that's
bed.
what's hard about having a job that's like on your feet all day, is that you're not getting to go exercise. You're waking up. I'm sure that you wake up super early when you're working, but like, I could be up at 5:30 for a 7 a.m. call time, and so it's all day long, and you get time to eat, and there's downtime, but it's intense. It's a very intense job.
Yeah, I bet even when you're, I bet it happens where even when you have that downtime, you're in your mind, you're still thinking of what you have to do next.
Correct. And then you need to get the client ready, and then you're also checking emails for new projects, and then I'm trying to run my company, so I'm dealing with those emails, chatting with my agent, with my publicist, and my marketing people. So I don't really, I don't have one job. I have a lot of jobs. So it's my job, even when I go on a shoot, is even more exhausting, because I'm doing my other jobs discreetly, and at the same, when there's a minute, I'm checking my emails to check, if my agent's checking to see if she can put me on hold for a job, or something's going on the website, or my production of products. So there's a lot going on, but I like it that way. It keeps life interesting.
Yeah, it does. And when I have the downtime, I'm doing this, or I run a stream account, so I'm always playing video games, twitching, that kind of stuff. Like, that's my downtime. Like,
right.
But as as a chef, you don't get that much downtime, so I might
you don't.
I might be lucky to do 10 hours with maybe a podcast or 2, maybe at the most, per week. So I love not having downtime. I'm always constantly working. I'm always constantly doing something.
Well, that's good. That keeps your life interesting and keeps you happy.
Yeah, especially during the coronavirus, because I can't do anything else. Like, you can't leave the house.
That's hard. It's a hard time, but hopefully we'll end soon and we can get back to our new version of normal.
Yeah, very true. Right. So, you have any questions for me? I always like to switch it up a little bit.
So what made you decide to put a podcast together?
Because I was actually at a bar with a couple of my buddies, and we were actually talking about doing a 3-person one, and like go from the bar to like someone's house with a couple microphones and just sit around and talk and do what we talk about like normally.
Right.
And whether it be gaming, whether it be breweries, whether it be doing this, that. And I was like, that's a good idea. And then my other buddy, he does he streams as well, video games. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll get myself a microphone. I got myself a microphone. Next thing you know, I'm getting editing software. Next thing I know, I'm running this podcast. I'm like, this happened really, really fast.
Oh, well, that's exciting. That's super fun.
Oh yeah, and and a lot of people are like, how did you get into the gaming one? I was like, well, with gaming podcast especially, they have the same setup. It's this person brings in streamers. This person talks about only Xbox. This person talks about only PlayStation. Same thing, just a bunch of facts thrown at you. Wash, rinse, repeat on the next episode. And I'm like, well, I can do that, but let me do some other topics, because there's not always things to be talking about. Like, these podcast episodes were like months apart. I was like, but if I can fill that time in with guests and facts about craft beer and stuff I'm very passionate about, I can make this a niche for myself in the community, and so far it's been working out.
Well, congratulations. I hope you're very successful with your podcast.
I hope so too. I just got a couple sponsors. Raise Energy drink. They just sent me a fridge full of energy drinks.
That's exciting. That's always fun when that happens. I get makeup sent to me from some makeup companies, Japanesque and Kosas, and Vissart in France, and I'm so grateful. And it's such a Christmas day when I get a box full of makeup for my kid, and you feel very special. So it's fun.
Yeah, it definitely is fun. Especially when they're like, because Raise Energy, they literally just sent the stuff to me. I didn't talk to anyone. They just sent them to me.
That's amazing.
I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, oh, this is really everything has in the past couple months just picked up, and it has increased. A lot of people have been liking more and more on Instagram and stuff like that, and it's cool to watch yourself grow as a community.
That's exciting.
I'm sure you saw that too with your Instagram. I saw that. Yeah. I was looking that up today.
Yes.
That's
a lot of work. Social media is a whole other ball of wax. It's a lot. Constant,
Oh yeah.
I have 2 Instagrams. I have one for my makeup, Christina Flack makeup, and then for Pretty Girl makeup. So I, supervise that and do all, it's a lot.
Yeah,
that's fun.
That's amazing, and you're really killing it. I really do envy you and everything that you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's very nice.
Through everything, from when I saw your story, because I just did the radio guest list thing, and they sent me, you were the first one they sent me, and I was like, man, this is an amazing story. I was just like, I have to have this person on the podcast. I have to talk her into having her on here.
Well, that's very nice. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun chatting today.
Let's connect on socials. Follow Chef Schanne on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.